All right, JP. Well, before we get to Christian Campbell, David Hamilton stuff, want to talk to you about the red hot topic that you and I love talking about, Red Sox pitching. We've seen some great outings lately. Of course, Brian Bayo with his first complete game. That was awesome to see. Lucas Giolito as well. Last 6 starts with an ERA of 0.70. Between these two and what we've seen from some others, Walker Buehler, baseball's a long season, but how does pitching like this contribute to the hot streak right now?
Well, it all starts with pitching, Natalie. I don't care what anybody says, because if you can eliminate the other team from scoring runs, you're going to have success. Bayo has been great. I think he's getting his secondary stuff over. He's pitching ahead in counts, and I think he's attack mode more than nibbling and trying to pick corners here and there. So I think his transformation has been more of aggressiveness on the mound and getting ahead on hitters early. I think Giolito has just been outstanding. I think he's been able to get up in the zone with his fastball really well. It's not that the fastball has unbelievable velocity. It has a hard spin rate up in the zone that's hard for hitters to see and to catch up. He comes from that real short arm action that is tough to pick up. I will say this about their pitching. Outside of Crochet, they do not have a starter that has a strikeout an inning. So pitching to contact right now is what they're getting away with. The problem I see is they're not the best defensive team. Now, obviously, with Bregman coming back, they're going to get a lot better defensively, moving guys in different positions. So it's a pitching staff that pitches to contact, and defense is going to have to be a big part of how they set their lineup up. But the pitching has been good. I think if I was the Red Sox, I know this probably leads into another segment that we'll potentially talk about here, but obviously what I see from their rotation is another arm with a little bit more power stuff would be a perfect addition to put behind Crochet. And then you could slide Bayo and Giolito behind those guys and have a little bit more of a filled up rotation. But you have to give these guys credit. They're throwing strikes and they're getting results. And you can't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the combination, the pitching, the defense all has to be there. And we've talked about just continuing to address the pitching situation in Boston. I know with the deadline coming up, the trade deadline coming up, that's something you have on your mind as a former GM, scout, all that, something that, we might be seeing the Red Sox make an action on as well. We don't know yet. It will be exciting, obviously, when things come down to the last minute there. But as far as pitching and, reinforcements on the way, as you can see on the lower part of our screen there, do want to talk about Hunter Dobbins. He was rehabbing from a right elbow strain, 15-day retroactive to June 21st. So he was in Portland. He did get a rehab start there, allowed 1 run on 2 hits, striking out 8 over 5 scoreless innings. He needed 62 pitches to get through those 5 innings. With just that one outing, was that enough to show that he was ready to be activated? And how do you think the Red Sox were looking at that?
Well, I think he's a major league player, and he's down on rehab for one reason, just to see if he was healthy and he could get stretched out. And he checked off all those boxes. So it wasn't like he went down there because he had control issues or command issues. He went down there just because of an injury set him back. So I think going to 5 innings, doing it in 62 pitches, I think he's in a good position to come back now, especially testing the elbow and knowing that he's healthy and he checks that box off. So to me, he just hit a little blip in the road. So bringing Hunter Dobbins back, I think, is a no-brainer, and penciling him right into the rotation is also something that I think will give them more depth and length in their rotation.
Now, Hunter Dobbins came over to Worcester one day just to throw a side, and he lives local to the area. I don't know if he's still living in that camper in the campground. Do you know about that story, JP?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could catch you living in a camper, but it's an efficient way to live the lifestyle, right?
Not happening. No clicker in a hotel room is about as tough as I'm going to get.
Yeah, I mean, this guy wouldn't even put on a cowboy hat for the country night over in Worcester. You didn't end up putting on the cowboy hat, did you? The hair's too nice.
You look better in the cowboy hat than me, so I wasn't going to try to top that.
Oh, well, you know what? I ended up forgetting it in the studio, so hopefully it's still there when we get back. If not the end of the world. Obviously, we have our opinions on the cowboy hats. But as far as Hunter Dobbins, seeing where he fits in right now, do you see him more as a depth guy, bullpen guy, or do you see him fitting into the starting rotation?
I think you could do anything you want to do with him. I think the biggest question and concern would be when guys go to the bullpen that haven't been in the bullpen, there's the question of, can they pitch back-to-back days when they haven't done it? Can you stretch them out? Do they feel comfortable? You don't want to take a pitcher out of his comfort zone. Everybody always says, oh, make him this or make him that. But sometimes they're just not comfortable. And when you think about relief guys, sometimes they got to get up back-to-back days, and their arm doesn't bounce back from getting up in the bullpen back-to-back days. So I think that's an internal question that they know better than I would, because they know the player better than I do. So I wouldn't be as quick to put him in the pen. But I think if you could keep him in the rotation, let him be your fifth starter, I think he feels comfortable doing that. And he's a really good fifth starter to have in your rotation.
Another guy that we're, starting to think about where he's going to fit back in is Tanner Houck. He has one of his more efficient outings with Worcester on Wednesday. He allowed 3 hits, striking out 6. What have you seen with him in regards to what he's working through? What more needs to be done to get him back on that track to the big leagues?
I think Tanner is a little bit more of a bigger question than obviously a guy like Dobbins, who just kind of had a hiccup with his elbow. I think the biggest check marks for me with Tanner is the command of the ball. And I wouldn't be in a hurry just to run him back to the big leagues. I would take my time with him, because if you got him back even at the end of July and he is what he was last year, I think you've just added a trade deadline piece. So my biggest concern with Tanner is they take their time with him, let him get back to where he was and feel comfortable where he was, and just get him to the big leagues when he's feeling right, because that's a really good arm when he's right. But right now he's not right, and he's still a little off with his touch and feel. And I'd hate to see him rush him to the big leagues and really struggle with that touch and feel, because, a 3-inning rehab in the minor leagues transfers to about a 1-inning outing in the big leagues. So I would like to see them err on the side of caution with him and let him get back to what he was feeling earlier in the year, spring training wise, and even last year.
Now, Tanner did catch up with Tommy Castle over in Rochester after his last outing, saying things, we're feeling a little better mechanically. He said you could see it in the velo. Things are, taking steps, trending in the right direction. But as far as that rehab goes, how do you manage how long you keep him there? How do you manage what you look for next with him? And, in your position, your perspective, I guess, what would you do with a man in his situation, knowing that the trade deadline's coming up and that there's still a little bit of work to be done?
Right. And right now you're in the middle part of the season, and every win counts. So maybe in April and May, you might be able to run a guy up there trying to figure a few things out. But right now, every game counts. And I think the message to him, and he knows he's a veteran, he's been around, we're trying to win as many games as possible. And we're going to bring you back to the big leagues, not only for our best interest, but for your best interest when you're ready, when you feel good. You are a part of what we're doing here, but we need to have the Tanner Houck we had when you're going good, and we just can't have an experiment project running out there every 4th day and give away some of those games where we're playing from behind. He's going to understand that. It all comes down to communication, and I think he's going to appreciate that, the honesty. And he knows he doesn't want to embarrass himself, and I think he's going to understand when he's right, he's going to be back in the big leagues.
I got to chat with him after, I think, his first rehab outing, and I really like his positivity. He's got a good head on his shoulders regarding the process and trusting his athleticism. Have you worked with him at all? Have you spoken with him one-on-one before?
I have not, but I've heard good things about him. And, part of being a really good professional is having a good attitude and understanding things. And, he understands the team's battling now. They're battling for a playoff spot. And the last thing he wants to do is come up and rock the apple cart. He wants to come up and contribute. And I think, being the type of person he is and the things I've heard about him, he's going to do what's right for the team.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a pleasure getting to catch up with him, because you never know with the rehabbers if they're going to be frustrated after their outings, if they're going to be, feeling like they're on cloud 9 ready to go. But, everybody in Worcester loves him. He had his arm around the clubbies coming out, giving them jokes and stuff. So I really enjoyed having him there as much as we want to see him back in the big leagues.